So my name is Dori. I'm a neuroscientist at the University of Sussex. I've been studying biology and neuroscience for over 6 years now. In that time, obviously, you heard a lot about famous neuroscientists from the past, but they are almost always male, almost always white, straight and cis. And so I was wondering, what about all the other people? I was wondering about their stories. I wanted to learn about gay neuroscientists and trans neuroscientists and neuroscientists of color and all the women that were important. And so I'm going to share a couple of their stories with you today. So first I wanted to start with, what is neuroscience? What am I talking about? So neuroscience, generally speaking, is the study of the nervous system. So the nervous system is your brain, your spinal cord, and all of the nerves that go to your limbs. And often neuroscientists will focus on the brain. And within that, we often focus on neurons. So those are these cells here. They're your brain cells. Now, when I'm saying that neurons make up your brain, I'm actually kind of lying to you because they're only about 20% of your brain. But I will come back to this later. So for now, just remember neurons in your brain. And the earliest mention of anyone studying the brain is from this papyrus, the Adam-Smith papyrus. This is from the 17th century BC, but it was probably from a manuscript that was written in the 30th century BC, so this is 32,000 years ago. And what you can see here is actually the earliest word for the thing that we now call brain. So it's the earliest word ever written down for this organ. And this papyrus was a medical papyrus. It was written by an army doctor. It sort of described wounds of the soldiers on the battlefield. He would describe their symptoms, he would describe the treatments. And so he had a lot of soldiers that had head wounds. And one of the things he found is that when his soldier had a head wound on one side of his head, then he would get symptoms on the other side of his body. And we now know this is lateralization of the brain, so the idea that one part of your brain controls one half of your body, the other part of your brain controls the other half of the body. And I think even more strikingly, he described a certain soldier who had a wound on the left side around the temple. And we know now that underneath your temple is your temporal lobe, which contains your speech area. But he already described for this soldier that he had problems with speech. He had aphasia, so he couldn't speak properly anymore. And so what we know now, we can say now, this soldier had a wound around the speech area of the brain. I think it's really amazing that 32,000 years ago, someone already knew this. Now, as I said, it was a medical document, and he would also describe a treatment for this. I'm not sure if I trust this. So the treatment for aphasia is this. Now, when thou findest that man speechless, his relief shall be sitting, soften his hand with freeze, and pour milk into both his ears. I'm not a doctor yet, but I wouldn't recommend this. Right, so this is the earliest that anybody studied the brain. And we're going to make a little jump now because I've got 15 minutes to get to 32,000 years of history. So we're going to go to India. So around 300 BC in India, medicine was actually thriving. And this man, Shakara, is known as the Indian father of medicine, and he described different sort of disorders and different neuropsychiatric disorders. And one of the disorders he described was Parkinson's disease. And Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disorder, which means that the neurons in your nervous system, they die, and this causes symptoms. And the reason that Parkinson's disease is so interesting is because it has two contradictory symptoms. So you might get tremors, so you get moving of your limbs, but you can also get motor rigidity, which means that you stop moving, you can't move anymore. But he already described this as one sort of coherent disease. And actually it was described again in the 12th century AD in China. We now call it Parkinson's disease because it was then again described in 1817 in Europe, and obviously it was named after a guy in Europe who described it. Right, so we're going to stay around this century. And as you all know, in Europe there wasn't a lot going on. It was the Dark Ages. There was actually a lot going on in the Arab world. And a lot of medicine was being done by this guy, Avicenna, which is a Latinized name because I do not know how to pronounce his name, I'm sorry. And he described, again, a lot of sort of medical conditions. And one of the things that he pioneered was this link between your heart and your brain. So the link between sort of your mental health and your physical health. And so he had a patient at one point who was very, very sick. And what he did is he measured his heartbeat, so you can measure your pulse. He would list names of places and cities. And by using this method, he found out that this patient was actually in love with a girl. And he found out where this girl lived through calling out these names and finding out when his heart started racing. And his treatment for this patient was to go find that girl and marry her. Apparently he did. And then, he was completely rid of his illness. Now obviously this is a nice fairy tale, but actually this kind of research is still being done today by Sarah Garfinkel, who was last year one of the 11 rising stars by Nature. And she actually researches this link between your heartbeat and mental health. So it is very much current, but maybe not exactly the way that this guy did it. Right, so up to this point, I've talked a lot about medicine, and people were looking at the brain from a medical point of view. Actually, people started wondering as well about what this organ was doing from a research perspective. We kind of started finding out that the brain is where your intelligence is, and the brain is the thing that sort of makes your limbs move. But actually, we didn't know how it did all of this until this experiment. And this is a very interesting experiment in the history of neuroscience. So what's going on here is you can see a frog right here, very small. So this guy dissected a frog's neck, and then he used a rod. He made it static electric and touched it onto the leg. The leg would start moving. And this is an experiment I did during my undergrad with the cockroach. And I would always learn about this guy. His name is Luigi Galvani. But as I was actually looking up this experiment and reading more about it, I noticed that there was always a woman in the picture. And this woman is Lucia Gaiazzi Galvani, who is the wife of Luigi. So nowadays we might call her a collaborator because she was there for every single experiment. She proofread all of his manuscripts. She was even a doctor as well, though she was never recognized as such. But I had never heard about her, so I wanted to tell all of you about her because she was very important as well for this. And actually, the study of the electricity in the brain was later revolutionized with this woman, Ida Hyde. She was a Jewish American woman, and she invented this thing. And it might look a bit weird, but what it actually is a little glass rod, and it's filled with ionic fluid. And you can use it to change the electricity and to measure the electricity in a single neuron. So what was going on before is there was a nerve and frog's neck, so it was a bunch of neurons. Now it's a single neuron, so that's about 10 microns. And so she invented this device in 1921. Now weirdly, nobody really recognized her for this, and actually it was reinvented a couple of times. Most notably, it was reinvented around the 1940s by Judith Graham Poole, who is now a very famous hematologist. And then, surprisingly, in the 1950s, the male supervisor of Judith Poole got nominated for the Nobel Prize for this invention. But it was actually this woman who originally invented this. Right, so I told you at the start that I actually was lying to you and that the brain cells are not all neurons. Actually, most of your cells are glia cells. So you can see on this picture here, you can see this green thing is a neuron. But then this green thing is, we call it an astrocyte because it's sort of star-shaped. And then all of these little red things, they're called microglia. And all of these red things and the big green thing in the top left corner, they're not neurons, they're glial cells. And they are often just ignored. They're both glial because glial means glue. They were called the glue of the brain. They just sort of hold it together. The neurons do everything. That's actually not true. We know now. These little red things, they were discovered by this guy, Pio Ortega, in 1919. And it was not too long after the neurons were discovered. And actually, he discovered them in the lab of the guy who discovered the neurons. And his name was Santiago Ramón y Cajal. And this guy won the Nobel Prize for it. So while he was in his lab, he studied the microglial, but not too long after he discovered them, he was actually shunned from the lab. And this was because Santiago Ramón didn't agree with his lifestyle. We now know that this man is actually a gay man, and this is why he was shunned. I'm very happy to tell you that he did have a very successful career afterwards. Now, as I said, we now know that the glial cells are actually very important. And the main reason we know this is because of this man, Ben Barres. And Ben Barres was very, very important in showing the function of glial cells and showing us that glial cells can actually cause the development of neurons. It will make the neurons essentially do what they are. It will keep your brain healthy. They're very, very important. And I think the interesting thing about Ben Barres is that he always stood up for the underdogs. He saw the glial cells as the underdogs of neuroscience, but also he recognized that women were the underdogs in science. And I think one of the reasons he recognized that was because he was a transgender man and he had experience of discrimination. There's actually, his autobiography came out last year. I can highly recommend it. It's really, really great. And one of the anecdotes from his biography was that he was giving a talk for the first time after transitioning, so for the first time as Ben Barres. He was giving a talk in university. And later, some of the scientists were overheard saying, well, I really like the talk by this guy, Ben Barres, but his work is much, much better than his sister's work. So these scientists wrongly believed that who they thought was his sister was actually him as well. And so he was really, really important in neuroscience. Now, I'm going to leave it there for the history. So I've talked a lot about the history of neuroscience. I've given you many examples. I just wanted to end on this last slide and showing you some of the heroes, some of my heroes in neuroscience today. We're doing amazing work both in science and also in diversity. And I hope that we will have more champions like this in the future. Thank you.